Do you really need $1 million to retire? This individual has 456,000 saved up, but he is getting a pension of 1,250. He's 60. He can take that pension right now. Here are his expected expenses, 5,000 a month. He'd like to give himself a 3% COLA, and he wants to know what would happen to his numbers if he waits until age 67 to start taking Social Security. Now, what he does is he opens up his Social Security statement. Social Security statement says at age 67, he's going to get 2550. Now, from age 60 to 67, that's going to grow. Each year you get a COLA with Social Security. We're going to grow that by 2.5%, which is this year's COLA. So he's going to get 3031 if he waits till age 67. These are amounts he's going to get if he takes it earlier than that or later than that. But 3031. So what we do in this channel is we use the numbers for the S&P 500 for the last 100 years, and we simply project ahead of what similar returns might do for you in the future. So let's go ahead and plug it into our spreadsheet here. Got 456,000, getting 5,000 a month, giving himself a 3% COLA. We're going to do a 50-50 asset allocation because they often say you should take your age from 110, and that shows you how much you should have in stock. So 110 minus, he's 60, that'd be 50. So a 50-50 split. In other words, the other 50 going into some kind of a bucket over here. So when the market's going down, you take it out of the bucket. So let's see how many times you run out of money. First of all, notice initially that's a 9.87% withdrawal rate. That's way above the 4% rule. Now, 8 years later, when he starts taking Social Security, it's only a 3.81% withdrawal rate, which is under the 4% rule. The problem is it's 9.87 has knocked down its balance so much that 35% of the time in the last 100 years, he'd actually run out of money. This is the actual graph showing you what years, if we use the returns for these different years, you're going to run out of money. Some years you'll be in great shape, but again, are you comfortable with a 34.6% failure rate? And over a 30-year range, you'd be running out of money 77% of the time. You can kind of see these reds going down through here. So it looks like initially it's not going to work retiring at 456,000. But what happens if we take Social Security earlier? What if we take it at age, let's say, age 65, and you're going to get 2627. So age 65, 2627. And we're going to get that in the 6th year. From age 60 to 65, he's not going to get it. So those first 5 years, he won't get it. Starting in the 6th year, let's go ahead and update this and see how these numbers change. Now we got a 9.87% withdrawal rate. We got a 4.19 after 6 years, after 5 years. So let's go ahead and update this. It really made a vast improvement from a 35% failure rate down to a 20% failure rate. But again, that 30-year period is kind of concerning because it looks like it really ramps up between years 20 and 30 for each of these different returns, so that 66% of the time you run out of money. Now, let's do something different. Let's not leave 50-50. Let's not go with the standard 110 minus your age. Let's go up to a 70-30 split, meaning you're going to leave more in the S&P 500. You're still going to have the cash reserve, so when the market's going down, the money can come out of that. Let's see how that might work when we update that. That made a huge difference. Now you just got an 11% failure rate. Taking Social Security at age 65, yes, you're taking out less than you would if you waited till 67, but you're having your money last, using the numbers for the last 100 years, you're having your money last, not running out 88.9% of the time after 20 years. But look at the 30-year range now. 81% of the time you got a success rate. Let's do a couple other things here. Let's say, for example, this is what normally happens in your second decade and third decade. You don't take out quite as much because you've got kind of your traveling out of the way. In other words, just to say, the second decade this is kind of the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. So let's go ahead and say that second decade you're taking out 10% less than you were doing, and let's say the third decade you just leave it right where it was at. Let's go ahead and update this and see where the numbers might lead us. Looks like it didn't make that much difference when we're using the 70-30 split. Let's do one more thing though. Let's say after down years, you don't give yourself a COLA. Right now, you're giving yourself a 3% COLA. But let's say you don't give yourself a COLA after down years. it'd be a little bit problematic because, for example, right here, if we had numbers like 73 and 74, you'd have to stay at the same amount for 2 years because you had 2 down years here. So let's go ahead and update this and see how this might change this number. Look at that, folks, down to 5% failure rate. Remember, we're talking about the last 100 years. We're talking about decades where you had depression-type returns, or even the year 2000 where you had 3 down years and down 37%. In every other scenario, you are in just fine shape with this 456,000, with this 5,000 a month. Let's do one more thing. Let's say you just do 4,800 a month. Again, we're just kind of running different numbers to show you what we can do here. 4,800, let's go ahead and update this. See what a difference $200 a month makes? 4,800 instead of 5,000. Now only 2% of the time in the last 100 years would you be running out of money. Here's the graph, just during the Depression years. Not even the year 2000. You'd be just fine. That just shows you all the things, all the different variables you kind of need to consider from your asset allocation, from your COLA. When you take your COLA, if you take COLA after negative years, if you want to take a little bit less the second and third decades, it shows, remember we started out at what, 35% failure rate? And now we're down to a 2% failure rate. This is what we started with, a 35% failure rate. That was a 50-50 split, using the 3% COLA all the way through, doing 5,000 a month, and not taking into account you might take out less even during these later decades, and we ended up with a 35% failure rate. And yet if we just went to 4,800, a 70-30 asset allocation, and no COLA after down years, and just showing you all the numbers we changed here, and we went to 4,800, and what did we end up with? Let's go ahead and update this and show you this. Remember, it's 35% right here, failure rate, if we don't make these changes. Now we went from a 35% failure rate down to a 2% failure rate, taking Social Security at age 65. So it shows that this kind of sums right here, even though it's well short of that million everybody thinks they need. With this pension, taking Social Security at age 67, doing a 70-30 asset allocation, with some other things we did, not taking COLAs after negative years, you'd have a 98% success rate after 20 years, and even the same that kind of rate after 30 years. Your money would last. The only time are these 2 years, 1929 and 1930. But that's what you'll have to do is run numbers for you, because otherwise there's no way you're going to know with these kind of numbers, man, is that enough? Is that enough? Again, all we did is cut your expenses back a little bit, took Social Security at age 65, and we saw that 98% of the time you have a success. But that's what we do on this channel. We love running numbers for people. Please consider subscribing. If you want me to run your numbers, put it in the comment section. Again, keep it to these kind of variables. I'll go ahead and run the numbers for you. Please like the video, and thanks so much for watching.